And we are live enough to be looking at the sun in 193 angstroms. You see some coronal holes in the southern portion there. And it's the last space weather broadcast of spring. So the solstice happens today, and we're going to be broadcasting live during the solstice. So join us for that. Solstice happens at 11:54 Eastern Daylight Time. So tune back in. And thanks for tuning in, the Smash team. Let's look at some other views here. We're looking at 7 hours and 15 minutes polar activity here, as we tend to only cover what's happened on the calendar date of our video. 7 hours and 15 minutes of 171 angstroms shows 0 sunspots, a blank disk, and a 10.7 centimeter radial flux of 68. Let's cover some more stuff, as there's a lot of stuff to cover, as typically there is. I'm going to look at magnetic field force lines real quick. And that looks like crap. Let's see if we can get a better view than that. How about 1024? Looks like the SDO's having some problems, folks. Let's try the 335 angstroms. There we go. There are your magnetic field force lines. No real changes with the solar polar fields that I can see. So let's move on to more stuff, such as the real-time solar wind. Phi angle's sticking around 270. BZ is in the positive range, just barely. Total field strength is pretty strong right now. That's the BT, the top pane there in black. Talking about the sun's B field. And we see a downtick in the solar wind density and an uptick in the solar wind speed. So the wind speed just came up to 368 over the past 8 hours, 6 hours. And the solar wind speed dropped down to 8.46 protons per cubic centimeter. So there's a little coronal hole wind stream kind of hitting in a sort of a sputtering fashion there. Not a particularly strong or high-speed wind stream so far. Yesterday, I forecasted about a 450 kilometers per second stream. And I don't see that yet, although it could still be rising. So keep an eye on that. Next, we got the magnetosphere movies, as we typically do. Here's the magnetohydrodynamic density. Keep in mind the low density is white and the high density is blue on this model, courtesy of University of Michigan. Here's the pressure. We see a very discharged ionosphere, which we'll get to momentarily, as there is a lot of stuff to cover. So pretty weak pressure here, and some interesting interactions happening there. I'm going to let that one play through a second time. You see a little activity around the North Pole here. We're going to probably see some magnetic perturbations on the globe also. We're going to move on in 1 minute here after we just view this again. All right, so here are the ground magnetic perturbations. This is delta B, changes in the Earth's B field. Anyway, there are the global magnetic perturbations. As the pole shift, pole flip, pole excursion, magnetic reversal, whatever you want to call it, continues, the South Pole continues to creep into the southern Indian Ocean. The North Pole over Canada continues to creep down to the southwest, and the Siberian Pole is looking a little more steady. So let's move on to more stuff, such as smashomash.org. Look for changes on that site coming up soon. as we've made some new graphics. Also, please support us via the links in the description underneath the video, as we are paid nothing by YouTube to make these videos. And it's folks like one-time donators via PayPal and via Patreon that are keeping our channel afloat, making sure that these videos keep coming out. We do cover stuff a lot faster than a lot of other channels, to the point where we're so far ahead that heads are in the sand. Again, visit our links in the description here, such as our Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign, specifically formulated for our spaced out viewers. How about some water-soluble CBD whole plant extract designed to absorb quickly? There's some sales going on also. It looks like 30% off the hemp seed oil suspension CBD in 1,000 milligram size, as well as some Kalki products there, certified THC-free Kalki products, as well as looks like fish-flavored CBDs for your kitty cat. And links in the description to the Spaced Out campaign at Hemp Lucid. Also visit theveloshop.net, our cycling team. Here's a testimonial. This guy lives all the way in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, which is about 40 miles away from the shop. And despite being over an hour away from his primary location, he still makes the drive, even for routine maintenance and refits, simply due to the dramatic difference from the standard local bike shop. So people driving from miles around to get the bike fit skills of Becky and the repair skills of Alan. So check out theveloshop.net. That is the cycling sponsor. That's the team I ride for, folks. If you're interested in sponsoring the team, if you're a corporate sponsor, for instance, email me at smashomash@gmail.com. Thanks again, donors. Every little bit counts. And that's why our Patreon tier is only at $1, because we're trying to get more people. The GoFundMe campaign ends tonight at midnight. We've reached all the way to 1% of the goal. That's not going to stop me from racing. And more on that later. Also visit the links in the description to the soundclick.com page and the SoundCloud page for the original music often featured on this channel, such as the track you just heard, which is called Wind Chime Madness, and it is available on the SoundCloud page. We got some crazy sprites on spaceweather.com. Check out those sprites over Texas last night. Insane sprites, palm tree style, over the top of that storm. They're not even sure if it was over the storm or not. Crazy, crazy sprites, though, featured on the homepage of spaceweather.com. Also, I would reiterate that 10.7 centimeter radial flux remains at very low conditions, still above predicted values. However, 68 solar flux units is about as low as it gets, although it was down to 66 a few days ago. Check out spaceweathernews.com to see an utterly flatlined X-ray flux, as we've seen for weeks. 0 sunspots for, I believe it's 32 consecutive days. Some little striations here in the magnetometer. The plasma region around that coronal hole that's south of the solar equator right now is affecting the coronal plasma environment. And the KP index is at 2. And we're getting sudden freakish windstorms here in eastern Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley. Hopefully they're not going to mess up my 60-mile ride that I have planned today. We see very low electron flux levels. And despite that, we do see some charging hazards here in northern South America and Central America, surprisingly. F2 layer is extremely discharged for the 3rd day in a row. And it is now raining in eastern Pennsylvania, something that was absolutely not forecasted. And it's going to completely screw up my ride, as it sounds like enough rain to saturate the roads. Wasn't expecting that. Here's the Aurora forecast. They're looking pretty weak. We're going to look at the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard here for a quick moment to look at the Enlil spiral. as there are some more coronal hole wind streams expected to reach the planet in a few days, such as the one that's facing Earth now. Here's the models. Take these with a grain of salt, folks. They're often off by quite a bit, sometimes completely wrong. And let's see. It looks like the next major coronal hole wind stream is set to arrive midday on the 25th, according to this. Again, take it with a grain of salt, folks. It's just a model. Here's a synoptic map. You can see this coronal hole in the south, as well as one in the north. I didn't really see that one. We'll go back to solar views momentarily. Here's the gong 2, the magnetic environment. The current sheet right now dominated by the South Pole field, shown in red. And those perturbations in the magnetometer are caused by these areas here where you see more direct field force lines going to the corona. And there's going to be turbulence in the GOES magnetometer for the next day or two. This data, 2 hours and 5 minutes old. Let's move on. And we'll look at stereo A as we typically do. There is a plasma plume rotating around, and there's some activity on the non-Earth facing side. So the Earth would be over here for you new viewers out there. Here's the non-Earth facing side. And I think those filaments collapsed there. It didn't look like they exploded off into the interplanetary magnetic field or anything. They just looked like they collapsed. So again, solar activity looking weak. Milky Way galaxy team for the win. If you're watching the video from a different galaxy or a different solar system, please leave a comment, as we are interested in your thoughts on things like redshift and gravitational accretion. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, here's where the objects in your local Milky Way solar system type area are looking for the solstice. Here's where they'll be in 1 week, as we like to give our viewers a heads up and give you the most cutting edge views. So there, the Earth is creeping up on Saturn, Mercury's creeping up on Earth, and that solar activity is aimed at Mars. Stereo A is located right about here, by the way, folks, about 4 months behind the Earth. Stereo B is located out here, but unfortunately, it's been a little beaten up, experiencing hardware anomalies in 2014. Here's what's going on above my head. Check out in-the-sky.org. Here's my favorite star, Deneb, which is allegedly the north celestial pole at the other end of the precessional cycle. Shout out Neil Thompson if you're watching. Please leave a comment about the precessional cycle, as one of the papers I'm going to write this year is involved with the precessional cycle and with Deneb. And that's too much of a teaser. So if you get up before dawn, check out the moon, Saturn, and Jupiter, all on the ecliptic, obviously. Well, hopefully they're on the ecliptic, because if not, something's really gone wrong in your solar system. And Venus should be rising soon. So if you have a low horizon just before dawn, check out Venus. It will be amazing. Check us out on Twitter. Although I don't tweet, we do make it easier for our viewers to share the videos with their friends who only use Twitter. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/smAshomash. Also Instagram.com/smAshomash. Not so much space weather stuff on here, but just random stuff. A lot of cycling stuff, even some recipes. Yesterday I did some climbing. Here I am up on the mountain. The mountain attracts me when I see fog.
Yowzers.
When I see fog, it just pulls me up the mountain. I don't know what's up with it. It must have something to do with the electron flux. Also follow us on Gab, gab.com/smAshomash. I'm going to actually use this, as I hear it's an alternative to Twitter, and I'm not using Twitter because I don't like their leftist BS and censorship. Also, check us out on Minds, minds.com/smAshomash. The social media that will not censor you and has this lovely black theme. I just love it. And I would note that we've got over 450,000 views on minds.com, as we're not shadow banned there. Although we are shadow banned in some places without mentioning any servers. without mentioning any servers. So please press like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you enjoy the content, especially coming out with space weather videos before anybody else, and even covering some economic from time to time. Let's do an earthquake rundown as quickly as possible. See a 5.3 at the South Sandwich Islands. Some quakes in the central U.S. here. What is up with that? 3.0 at Perry, Oklahoma, and a 2.6 at Moreland. Let's move on to 4 magnitude onlys. 4.4 at Indonesia. That's at the surface. There's a very odd place for a quake right there. Ravensthorpe, Australia. Leave a comment if you felt that one. I know we've got viewers that are going to experience the winter solstice today as they are located in the southern hemisphere. Here's a 5 magnitude at East Timor. Right on the crown jewel of the Ring of Fire, south of the Philippines. Here's a 4.6 at Argentina at depth. Heads up for a larger quake at the surface there. Here's a 5.1 at New Zealand as it continues to rock following that 7.2 magnitude quake a couple days ago. Here's a 5.1 at Kermadec Islands. 4.4 at the Reykjanes Ridge, which is southeast of Greenland. Largest quake off of Oregon for a long time. If you're on the West Coast and you felt that one, please leave a comment. Although it looks pretty far out in the ocean, let us know if you think a large quake is going to happen in the Cascadia Fault Zone. Here's a 5.3 at Papua New Guinea. And I could have sworn there was a 5.6 on the list. Maybe it got downgraded since I did show prep. Global warming update. There's been a lot of crap in the news about how Greenland is just melting away. It's going to cause sea level rise. And here's a snow depth chart courtesy of windy.com showing 185, more than 5 meters of snow there. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. There's only 1 inch of snow left there, but right here there are 9 feet. And there are 9 feet here, and 9 feet here, and 9 feet nearly everywhere, as well as all of Svalbard, and parts of Iceland have 9 feet of snow, and it's still snowing in the U.S. if you weren't aware. Here's a U.S. Doppler, and yeah, it's currently snowing in Idaho, Nevada, Utah, and a lot of snow coming down in Montana. We're going to focus on these extremely severe storms in is that Kansas? That's Nebraska mainly, but also Kansas. Those are probably tornado producing storms. They are bad news as convective forces run the show instead of the jet stream. And that is bad news for folks in the central U.S. as every day we're seeing extreme storms, flooding, crop losses, lack of planting, inundated fields, destroyed property, lost grain. So expect your food prices to go up, folks. We've been saying it since February. And man, look at the Hall current streamers in front of that thing. See those parallel lines, folks? They aren't chemtrails. They aren't even contrails. As this thing has a 2-kilometer resolution, you are looking at electromagnetic forces controlling the atmosphere, because that's the way it works. It's not just temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, and winds, folks. It's also Hall currents. Electromagnetic fields are running your life. Anyway, there's what's going on the water vapor map. If you're in front of this thing, heads up, because it's going to be bad and it's going to keep being bad. Check out the lightning front. It's super violent. If you're in Beatrice, you are right in the crosshairs. Sorry to say, there is thunder rolling in Beatrice. Look out to your west. You might see some of those sprites over the top of these storms because they are big. Although it's probably just black skies above your head right now. Let's do a volcano rundown. Speaking of black skies, here's Ibu back on the list, exploding and producing a 6,000-foot ash plume. Here's Dacono back on the list, 7,000-foot plume there. And please do not do the Fosbury flop over Sabancayas caldera, as it's producing a 25,000-foot plume of ash. And welcome to the That is an Ass, and that is a hole in the ground section of the video. Now, I have powers. I'm 14 feet tall. My friend here is about 5'7". I can't divulge what the powers are, but let's just say I'm not a threat to national security. Let's look up a term and use it in a sentence before reading the definition. Thanks, viewers. You are
stellar.
Our viewers are
Stellar.
viewers. What does it mean? Of or relating to the stars, astral, composed of stars. Of or relating to a theatrical film or of or relating to a theatrical or film star. Principal, leading, and outstanding. So thanks again, viewers. So the solstice happens today. We're going to be doing a live stream, which is going to start at about 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And it's going to go through the solstice, as we want to be the first channel and indeed the first people to wish you a happy summer. So tune in when that happens. Let's cover some articles here. Dear Alexa, eavesdrop on my house all day under the guise of protecting me from a heart attack. Oh yeah, what a great idea, folks. The system could detect noises related to cardiac events with 97% accuracy when the smartphone was placed up to 6 meters from a speaker generating the sound. In other words, you can set up your Alexa to listen for heavy breathing. When we used to only use answering machines to get heavy breathing, now we can have scammers calling us from Pakistan, as well as Alexa listening to you all day. I'm sure it's not gathering any marketing information so it can send you ads or anything. I'm sure it's not doing that, right? I like this visual analysis here of the 100 most valuable brands in 2019, as some of the brands on this are garbage brands, desiccated zombie corpses that are in their death throes. And if they don't change their behavior, they're going to be off this list. Certain very specific companies, without mentioning any names, including some of the largest ones on the entire visualization. Links to all of these articles in the description. Do you own these stocks? Do you think they're as junky as I do? Facebook's been getting hit. Dear Facebook, Google, Twitter, and Apple, you're all on notice. You're all on notice. And you can't break the internet, but the internet can break you. 200 years of rapid population growth will come to an end due to a solar nova, crustal displacement, the Earth's rotation flipping backwards, Nibiru, alien takeover. Not really, just a lack of fertility. Anyway, links to that article also. Gold spiked to 6-year highs. I figured I'd leave that in there, as a lot of folks have heads in the sand about economics. Food prices are rising, folks. Now, you want to find aliens? Well, the largest data set in the history of SETI has been released to the public. Links to this article also. If you want to go pour through the data, be our guest. If you find anything interesting, leave a comment. Massive brown dwarf detected by astronomers through occultation of the star with the catchy name 212036875, which has got an object rotating around it known as 212036875b, an apparent brown dwarf. One of the most massive discovered. I'm not going to start getting into the masses and things like that, as that's ridiculous, but it's still a great measurement, so check it out. It's not Nibiru. It's not Nibiru, folks. And I think this is the last article here from Berkeley. Astronomers see a warm glow of Uranus's rings. So please understand the distinction between Uranus and a hole in the ground, as this is more of an ionization pathway in the sky. Check out the composite image of Uranus's atmosphere and rings. Pretty cool. And I believe that's hydrogen sulfide? I want to say hydrogen sulfide. Anyway, we measure this stuff using spectra. Links to the article also in the description. Thanks again, viewers. There is a possibility that we'll start a grunge band called Sinkwater. Let's go back to the sun and skip all that other stuff. I'm going to bring out the chat after I refresh this because it's showing me old data once again. By the way, this track's called Dark Room, and it is available on the SoundCloud page. Links in the description to that also. Here's 7 hours and 45 minutes at 304 angstroms. What will you do with the final hours before the solstice? Your final hours of spring 2019. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you're up to. And please tune back in at about 11:30 Eastern Daylight Time for our live stream. Hey, some guy named Dan Nigro says Google equals junkware manufacturer. Can you believe that? Wow, that's just so controversial. Oh my gosh. Watch your tongue, Dan Nigro. You know Google's the owner of YouTube. You realize Google owns YouTube? Right? Yeah, we realize. Thanks for joining Harry and Korgrog and smAsho staff. Korgrog, I can't see the magnetic field lines, but things like birds and fish can. How do you like that? Yeah, hit the thumbs up, folks. Press like, press subscribe, share with your friends as we're shadow banned all over the internet, which is why we lose more subscribers than we gain in the past week. As if 1,400 subscribers is a milestone, right? All right, it's about that time. There's a lot of stuff to do, so thanks for tuning in. Make sure you stare at the sun. And when you're doing so, don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent.